Checking on the track.
Ronaldo Nazario is regarded as one of the greatest and most complete forwards of all time. Nicknamed O Fenomeno, which translates to the phenomenon in English, he was a prolific goal scorer, and despite being more of an individualistic attacker, he was also capable of providing assists for his teammates with regards to his vision and passing ability. In his prime, he was an extremely powerful, fast and technical player with excellent movement and composed finishing, and was also considered one of the most skillful dribblers in the game. Unfortunately for Ronaldo, his career became severely affected by knee injuries, which ultimately limited his speed, fitness and mobility. For some, only the physical setbacks prevented Ronaldo Nazario from becoming the undisputed greatest, whilst there is arguably no player who has ever created such feverish excitement when bursting onto the scene as a precocious talent. This is a player who twice broke the world transfer record before his 21st birthday, and a man who remains the youngest ever player to win football's most prestigious individual prize, the Ballon d'Or. Ronaldo grew up in the poor Rio suburb of Benito Ribeiro, where he began playing futsal as a junior for the neighborhood Social Ramos club at age 12. After leading the city's youth league in scoring with a record 166 goals in his first season, he was spotted by former Brazilian player and legend Jairzinho, who was coaching at Sao Cristóvão, a club that played and still plays in the Rio de Janeiro State League. Under the guidance of coach Alfredo Sampaio, Ronaldo progressed quickly through the youth ranks, playing for the club's under-17 and under-20s team while only 15 years old. The coaches at Sao Cristóvão were always amazed at Ronaldo's incredible pace and decision-making on the ball, with Sampaio further claiming in a future interview, "When I first saw him play, he scored 4 or 5 goals. One day, we were in the center circle and I asked him, 'Why don't you ever celebrate your goals like the other kids?' He responded, 'For me, it's normal to score.'" He, like many around him, knew that Ronaldo's emphatic scoring rate at the club would not go unnoticed for long, and sure enough, 2 years after he signed at Cristóvão, Jairzinho again recommended the then 16-year-old prodigy to his former club Cruzeiro. Ronaldo wasted little time in establishing himself as Brazil's great footballing hope after making his debut for Cruzeiro, shooting to wider prominence following a 5-goal display against fellow Brazilian club Bahia just months later. While his move to Cruzeiro was short-lived, Ronaldo netted 44 goals in 47 matches for the club over the course of 2 years. At just 17 years of age, the young forward had already won his first piece of silverware, the Campeonato Mineiro, with his performances earning him a call-up to the Brazil squad for the 1994 World Cup. Many argued that Ronaldo was not ready for the world stage, but his inclusion was a testament to his frightening ability, with many lauding the teenager as the most exciting talent since Pelé. The Seleção defeated Italy in the final to be crowned world champions, and although Ronaldo did not feature during the tournament in the USA, he had already gained experience far beyond any other player his age. Unsurprisingly, the World Cup exposed Ronaldo to a plethora of interest from European clubs, and on the advice of international teammate Romario, he signed with Dutch giants PSV Eindhoven in the summer of '94. The Brazilian wonder would go on to score 10 minutes into his PSV debut and would then follow that with a brace on his home debut. After scoring a hat-trick in PSV's game against German side Bayer Leverkusen in the 1994-95 UEFA Cup, Leverkusen striker and Germany World Cup winner Rudi Völler stated in the post-match presser, "Never in my life have I seen an 18-year-old play in this way." Just as Romario had done before him, the young forward thrived in the Eredivisie and finished his debut campaign with 35 goals in just 36 appearances in all competitions. Ronaldo concluded as the division's top scorer in his maiden season before netting a further 19 in just 21 games the following campaign, in a second season disrupted by the first of what would come to be defining knee injuries. The Brazilian forward had already outgrown his surroundings, however, and in 1996, a host of Europe's elite were queuing up in a bid to woo the game's most exciting talent. During his two-season stint at PSV, he scored an amazing total of 54 goals in 58 games while lifting one piece of silverware, the Dutch Cup. Attracting the attention of both Inter Milan and FC Barcelona, it was Barca who won the race to secure his signature in a deal that cost the Catalans 15 million euros, making the then 19-year-old Ronaldo the most expensive player in football history. His record arrival helped Barcelona out of a transitional phase and into contention for major silverware once more, with the exhilarating Brazilians spearheading an exciting team under English manager Sir Bobby Robson during the 1996-97 season. Ronaldo would spend just the single season at the Camp Nou, though it's a campaign that remains firmly etched into the memories of those who witnessed it and contained arguably the defining performances of his iconic career. If ever there has been a greater debut season for a player under the age of 21, we are yet to see it. 47 goals in 51 matches played. 34 of the goals would land Ronaldo the Pichichi Award for top scorer in La Liga, while his goals fired Barca to victory in both the Copa del Rey and UEFA Cup Winners' Cup. In addition, Brazil won the 1997 Copa America in Bolivia, with Ronaldo being voted best player and scoring in the 3-0 final victory over the hosts. Individually, he became the youngest ever winner of FIFA's World Player of the Year award, aged just 20, and finished second to Matthias Sammer in the 96 Ballon d'Or. Barcelona's young hero was more than a goal scorer, he was the complete striker and had moved the goalposts regarding the expectations of a world-class forward. Ronaldo was combining the qualities of 2 or 3 varying world-class strikers to produce a new breed of attacker. He had the strength and aerial abilities to offer a target, whilst possessing the footballing brain and technique to get involved with the play too. Above all else, he had the speed, skill, and composure to score goals for fun. His explosiveness on the ball, quick step-overs, and slotted finish had become the striker's trademark. Essentially, the lovable buck-toothed Brazilian had taken forward play to the next level never before seen in the game. Hostile contract disputes would unfortunately see Ronaldo swap Barca for Inter, as the Italian club triggered his €22 million release clause, making Ronaldo only the third and most recent player to break the transfer record twice, after David Jack in the late 1920s and Diego Maradona in the 1980s. Hesitation had cost the Italian giants an inflation of nearly 50%, but the Nerazzurri finally had their man, and the one season in Spain proved that the 20-year-old phenomenon was more than capable of shining on the big stage. The 90s was a time when the Italian Serie A was at its finest, a who's who of the game's most exceptional footballers. As with each of his 3 previous clubs, Ronaldo found immediate success, bagging 34 goals in all competitions, playing in what was then considered the toughest league to score in. That season also saw the star's record-breaking coronation when he won the Ballon d'Or, becoming the youngest player to win the accolade and by a landslide margin, in addition to retaining his FIFA World Player of the Year award. Perhaps more significantly, his unstoppable attacking virtues also played a key role in firing Inter to UEFA Cup silverware. Ronaldo scored 6 goals in the competition, including one in the final played in Paris, a city where he would return less than 2 months later. The 98 World Cup in France was billed as Ronaldo's destiny. The boy who had watched from the peripherals had grown into the star attraction, and at 21 years old, the young forward carried the hopes of a nation into the tournament. Brazil cruised through the competition and found themselves having to overcome the host nation France for glory in the final. Ronaldo was at the center centerpiece of all things good for the then 4-time World Cup winners, with 4 goals in the tournament setting the stage for the young striker to join Pele as one of the greats. But hours before kickoff, things went horribly wrong. Disaster struck as Ronaldo had to be rushed to hospital after he suffered a sudden convulsive fit. The hopes of Brazil were seemingly dashed until just minutes before kickoff, when Ronaldo walked into the Brazil dressing room and demanded he be included in the starting squad. However, both player and team were a shadow of their best as France eased to a 3-0 victory to lift their first ever title on home soil. After the match, Brazil's manager Mario Zagallo admitted the feeling over Ronaldo's health affected the team psychologically, further claiming that, "For the whole of the first half I was wondering whether to take him off, but I feared a public outcry in Brazil had I done so." Many medical experts say that Ronaldo should not have played and that he would have been feeling the after effects of the seizure, emphasizing that there is no way he would have been able to perform to the best of his ability within 24 hours of his fit. Despite his subpar performances in the final, Ronaldo was awarded the Golden Ball as the best player of the tournament for his overall performances and finished as the joint 3rd highest scorer. Sadly for the brilliant young Brazilian, his unfortunate events were far from over. Despite missing large chunks of the campaign due to injury, Ronaldo hit 14 Serie A goals in his second season at Inter. Heading towards the new millennium, Ronaldo was still considered the world's greatest striker, having recently helped his country retain the Copa America, scoring 5 goals in the process. Turning 23 in the opening weeks of the 1999-2000 season, the 2-time World Player of the Year still had his peak years ahead of him, making it quite scary to think about what he would inevitably achieve in the game. Inter had high hopes of winning a first Scudetto in over a decade going into the season, with their attack including Ronaldo and Italian stars Roberto Baggio and Christian Vieri. However, that progress came to a crushing halt in November 1999 during a league match against Lecce after Ronaldo felt his knee buckle and was forced to limp off the field. A medical examination confirmed that the striker had ruptured a tendon in his knee and would require surgery, which meant he would miss most of the season. After months of rehabilitation, Ronaldo, who was now club captain, returned to action just weeks before the season's climax in April 2000 against Lazio in the first leg of the Coppa Italian final. Playing only 6 minutes of the tie, the striker's world would be completely shattered when he suffered a complete rupture of the kneecap tendons after he tried to quickly shift his feet during an attacking situation. This time, the unlucky forward was forced to miss the entire 2000-2001 season, as well as much of the following one in 2001-2002. Ronaldo's physiotherapist Nilton Petrone would summarize the severity of his injury, declaring that his kneecap had actually exploded and called it the worst football injury he's ever seen. At what should have been the peak of his powers, the phenomenon had missed the best part of 3 successive seasons. The injury could have been enough to end any player's career, but thankfully, Ronaldo was more than just a footballer. As far as comebacks go, his return from injury to play in the 2002 FIFA World Cup is right up there with the greatest in sporting history. With practically no playing time under his belt, Ronaldo traveled to Japan and Korea, with many critics disputing his selection in the national team. He arrived in Asia with a point to prove and a haircut you'd expect to wake up with after falling asleep drunk at a house party. In a future interview with ESPN, Ronaldo would explain why he chose the absurd hairstyle, stating, "I had an injury in my leg and everybody was talking about it. I decided to cut my hair and leave the small part at the top. Everybody was talking about the hair and forgot about the injury. I could stay more calm and relaxed and focus on my training." Looking back, Ronaldo has never been embarrassed to say what he felt about the hairstyle, which was inspired by a character named Cascao from the Brazilian cartoon series Turma de Monica. Iconic and memorable as the trim was, so was his performances at the 2002 World Cup. The doubts surrounding his inclusion by Brazil manager Luis Felipe Scolari were quickly put to bed when the starman opened his account 50 minutes into his side's first game with Turkey and would notch a further 5 as the Seleção raced towards the final. Preparations for the final were marred by a constant bombardment of speculation surrounding Ronaldo's mental health, but the striker insisted all was well. After a hellacious ordeal over the past couple of years, this was the golden opportunity to put everything right, and he did just that when he scored the only goal in the semi-final against Turkey again, followed by a double in the final to defeat a bullish German side. In just 1 month, Ronaldo single-handedly wrote himself into the history books, taking home the Golden Boot with 8 goals and leading Brazil to their record 5th World Cup crown. Every true great player needs a career-defining moment, and the World Cup in 2002 was his. A footballing legend was reborn, and the phenomenon had truly earned his ultimate redemption. After his triumphant exploits at the World Cup, Ronaldo left Inter, where he had spent 5 seasons, scoring a total of 59 goals in 99 appearances, with the UEFA Cup as his only piece of silverware. He swiftly joined Real Madrid for €46 million, becoming the latest addition in the Galacticos era, which included such superstar names as Zinedine Zidane, Roberto Carlos, Luis Figo, and David Beckham. The next 4.5 seasons would bring over 100 goals at the Bernabeu, while the Brazilian's first campaign also ended with the first major league triumph as Real won La Liga thanks largely to his 23 goals. A Champions League winner's medal would remain elusive, but Ronaldo, now in his late 20s, was still an utterly brilliant striker. Despite his talents and goal-getting, he was still criticized, this time for his weight issues. A bit harsh considering his weight change was never down to unhealthy eating habits, but an underactive thyroid gland. The thyroid gland's main job is to release hormones which control the speed of your metabolism, which is the process of how your body transforms the food you consume into energy. Common signs of an underactive thyroid are tiredness, weight gain, and feeling depressed. Such unfair criticism carried over into the 2006 World Cup, where then-manager Carlos Alberto Pereira was urged by many not to include Ronaldo in the Brazil squad. Pereira would stick with the number 9, and although Brazil were dispatched by France in the quarterfinals, Ronaldo netted 3 times to become the all-time leading World Cup scorer with 15 goals over 3 tournaments. Back at club level, the press, along with the signing of Dutch forward Ruud van Nistelrooy at Real, eventually forced Ronaldo out of the Spanish capital. He returned to Italy but instead signed with Inter's biggest rivals, AC Milan, in the 2007 January window. The explosive pace he possessed was already fading, while his influence on controlling a game wasn't at the level which had seen him rewrite the striker's manual. As Ronaldo's weight increased, his tender knees were strained and his overall mobility was significantly reduced. Nevertheless, an eye for goal remained evident, as the now 30-year-old striker still hit 7 goals in his first half a season back in Italy. But after all that, the hopes of playing a full season again in Italy ended prematurely thanks to yet another major knee injury, with the damage ultimately ending the Brazilian's European adventure. It was safe to say that Ronaldo's time playing at the highest levels of football was completely done, but it wasn't the end of his story, not yet at least. Following another extended stint of rehab, the striker returned home to Brazil in the city of Sao Paulo, where he recommenced training with Brazilian side Corinthians in 2009. When he officially played for the club, Ronaldo helped clinch a domestic double with an amazing 23 goals in his debut season. He spent 3 years in Brazil, scoring a total 35 goals in 69 matches. Regardless of his diminished, yet still impressive goal-scoring rate, his sheer determination to recover from 3 separate serious injuries is a testament to his character and footballing mentality. In February 2011, after Corinthians were eliminated from the 2011 Copa Libertadores, a 34-year-old Ronaldo announced his retirement from football as the curtains came down on an 18-year playing career. His footballing CV alone confirms Ronaldo's place as a giant of the game, but the Brazilian offered so much more than medals. At his peak, the forward was a force of nature, and he treated fans to a level of attacking prowess that had never been previously witnessed. He was the blueprint for what became the modern forward, a player capable of picking up possession and beating players like a traditional winger, though retaining the predatory instincts and goal-scoring touch of an elite number 9. Goalkeepers and defenders were left bamboozled by his footwork, his stepovers and trademark elasticos, leaving even the best of opposition dazed and confused. That single season in Barcelona colours saw the star score a stunning 47 goals in 49 appearances across all competitions, firing the Spanish side to Copa del Rey, Spanish Super Cup, and UEFA Cup Winners' Cup successes. Those numbers may have been replicated by modern greats, but they were unprecedented during his own era and came in a manner never before seen especially for a teenage striker. Injury slammed the brakes on at various stages throughout Ronaldo's career, including what should have been his peak years. Nonetheless, the magical attacking maestro achieved no less than 13 club honors while scoring 62 international goals in 98 appearances to land 2 World Cups and 2 Copa Americas. Years after retirement, he became majority owner of La Liga club Real Valladolid after buying a 51% controlling stake in the club for 30 million euros in 2019. In 2021, Ronaldo bought a controlling stake in his boyhood club Cruzeiro. Investing $70 million in the club, he stated that he wanted to give back to the club that kick-started his legendary career and take them where they deserve to be in Brazilian football. As the pioneer of the contemporary forward, his influence has been transparent in the careers of many 21st century greats. But no matter what those stars achieve, none will send shockwaves through the football world quite like Ronaldo Luis Nazario de Lima, aka El Fenomeno.